Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to the E-Tims podcast. My name is Desi, and I'm glad to say tonight I am currently only joined by the man from the suburbs, our resident tactician who is here to review yesterday's game and others, Hector Bandido. Good evening, Hector.
I was going to say good evening, everyone, but good evening, Desi.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, strangely, we did actually expect to have a full panel tonight, but Monty may be able to join us for a very short period, possibly. And Ralph is doing his emergency white man in the van run, so I doubt he'll make it. But if they do manage to come along, then that's great. If not, it's just us two. But I know a lot of feedback we get. And by the way, that siren behind me is not because Ralph is out with the van. We do have a lot of feedback regards Hector's output or input to the actual chat. So it'll be interesting to see, because we've got a few items to cover, given we're at the end of August. We've come through the Europa League qualifiers. We just had the first Rangers game of the season there, and we're going to look at that. We'll also look at where we are from where we've came from, Hector. I know that's a big thing when you're... We do have slightly different opinions on these things, so it should make for a good wee debate, a good wee chat. And then, of course, looking at the transfer window, how we see it, and what may happen over the next 24 hours before it closes. So let's kick off first. Europe qualified for Europa League and the draw. Hector, were you happy with that?
I think when the last podcast we had was the week leading up to the game with Alkmaar, wasn't it? And we beat them 2-0 at home. And that's what I said, look, just get through. Doesn't matter how we do it. If you get through, it's a great result. Because we'll talk about this, expectations for the season. Just come back a few weeks, right? But getting past them, it was a big achievement. It was a hear 'em, scare 'em, sweaty
classic
game, and it's only Celtic being Celtic would go 1-0 up, 3-0 aggregate with a magic goal. It was a brilliant. It's the kind of goal that we lose a lot. That counter attack at pace was a brilliant goal. But then only Celtic, wouldn't they just lose one of the most comical goals you'll ever see over a season? They did it twice in one game, and you scratch your head and go, we do once. I've seen team. Can you remember that time my team's done two like that?
I think it's just, once again, it's the generosity of our club. It was in case you'd missed that laugh the first time, they thought, I'm going to make people out there laugh once again. But as you say, it's quite incredible. But the goal we scored, what an amazing start to a game, because we were all a bit apprehensive, because we thought, we need to score over there. I actually had a chat on Twitter, and I thought, and when I must have sounded a bit negative, which isn't like me, to be fair. And somebody came back to me and went, no, but in my heart of hearts, I think Alkmaar would have to score 4, because I think we will definitely score at least 1, that kind of idea. You had that, but you didn't think it would be like the first minute we would break it. And it was like, it reminded me of the Ajax game. Mind when we beat the Sutton in that Agat game. Yeah. And kind of mind with that bang, bang, the ball's in the net, and you're like, wait a minute. And we thought, here we go. And then, of course, it's up East come, lads, up East come. We'll help you. And again,
and if you're just, that's the professionalism, and it's not even like it's sort of basic professionalism, right? Their goals are just bread and butter. You wouldn't expect a lower league team to lose goals. Let's be honest, like that, right? Because the first one, Welsh is kind of not caught the header back cleanly enough. Hart should have come out and just cleared it. He was caught in 2 minds. Guy scores. Second one, Starfelt. I mean, other than laugh.
I don't know if your mother. I don't know. I'm going to take you back to your childhood here, Hector. But did your mother ever had one of those jewellery boxes where you lifted it up in the wee ballerina? Did the
yes,
circle?
Indeed. Yes, indeed. With my mother. I had one as well. Just my mother.
And it's the total confusion on his face of, what does happen? This is a £4.5 million footballer. You know what I mean? But then he went on, to be fair to him, and had a great second half. So I
was going to come on that, but see that the point I was really trying to make was, you go 1-0 up with a fabulous goal in the first 2 or 3 minutes. We're 3-0 up, and we're really they're done almost. Yep. And all we had to do was see if you don't lose any of those goals, we possibly could have won it quite comfortably, because there's a fair chance they'd eventually panicked a wee bit. The pace we had in the break, we probably had another good chance to score. And it's just that it gave them momentum. Their fans get going. As you'd expect, their fans get vocal. It put a lot of pressure on us. What I would say, right, when it got to half-time, we're 2-1 down, you think, oh, fuck, right? Probably will think the same thing here. We need to score another 2 to try and get through. And then see the first 15 minutes of that second half. I don't know about you, but I was screaming, get the ball up the fucking channel. Just right. And I kind of admire in many ways, right, Ange's philosophy. I do admire it, right? Keep possession, bring a team up to you, create space. But I also think there's a time and a place for doing it. And see, when a team's put under so much pressure, I think the last place to do it is the edge of your box, because if you lose the ball at the edge of your box, invariably you're going to give the team a great chance to score. Whereas I was just thinking, just hit a channel, take them away up the pitch to their penalty box and press them up there, get them 50, 60, 70 yards for a goal, and we didn't. And it was 50 minutes. And by the way, we're very lucky not to lose at least one goal. But we've seen it out. And actually after that, for the next 20 minutes, I thought we played really well. Again, then you get the last 10 minutes for them, and, they threw everything at us. Missed one sitter. But I thought to get through, considering 2 farcical goals under so much pressure, I actually thought it was a tremendous achievement, considering the squad he's had to start with.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say the Ange ball, and again, the focus on playing it out from the back. The fact, like a couple of weeks ago, I can't remember if it was Alkmaar who played or somebody, or Jablanek or somebody played, and John Collins was doing the kind of match analysis, the pit side analysis, and somebody mentioned something to him, and he went, bravery. He's like, Cal Mack, he's like, see when you go and say, give me the ball with 2 or 3 opponents around you, that's bravery in football. It's no running to get a header, a diving header, or it's like bravery is when you're willing to take the ball, even when you're not playing well. And again, for that team to come out against Alkmaar, after having that first half, and again, like say Starfelt and Welsh and Hart, to then go, right, you're going to have to deal with this ball within 10 yards of 2 opponents, just waiting to attack you, like, that kind of pack mentality. Yeah. So again, we never resorted to this punt, because I think the thing is, now, see when you do punt it, you realise how quickly the opponents do get the ball back. No, that way, you find yourself kind of sighing now as if, we've gave it back. Don't take them in. And I think we're starting to appreciate the benefits of this. Take our time back, and it can go back and forth. The thing that used to annoy me under Brendan Rodgers doing it was all we ever did was pass it back and forth between the keeper. We never actually seemed to look for Cal McGregor or Scott. No, like our board seems to be keeper to centre half to keeper to centre, and it kind of goes left then right back to the middle. But then until there's a space in the middle of the park to pass it to McGregor, that way then suddenly we're up the park. And we noticed a few of them at Ibrox or not the weekend.
What was getting at, Desi, wasn't he just I could totally get your point, wasn't he just a punt up the park? If you look at how Ange wants to play, when the opposition keeper does have it, our players won't let the keeper bring it out 25 yards, 30 yards. Whoever's there, the striker, the winger, runs straight at the keeper. So in effect, we're defending really high up by doing that. Yeah. That's what I was getting at. Get a wee 5-minute foothold in the game. There's so much intense pressure. 9 times out of 10 you lose a goal during that period. And we somehow dug it out. But what I would say, you touched upon it there. I thought the second half, the defending from the entire back four, including young Montgomery, who come on for Taylor when he seemed to get a bad injury with his shoulder. Ralston, second half against, let's be honest, that winger, the Swedish boy, was terrific the first half. I thought Ralston had been in his pocket the second half. Starfelt and Welsh were solid. Hart used the experience, did what he had to do in Montgomery. So I thought fair play to the defence. And, we've rightly criticised the defence a lot over the last God knows how long, but I thought they were excellent the second half. And a great achievement to get through. Great achievement. Yeah.
And again, a lot of people were noting that is a 2-leg. If you'd reversed those legs, we'd have been we'd have been jumping for joy. How many times have we left Celtic Park celebrating like mad because we've managed to overturn the deficit? I mean, it doesn't matter. It's the aggregate score. Everybody was happy. But again, you touched on the thing there, like, as in the defence have been taking some amount of abuse. And I was trying to, again, have a chat with somebody on Twitter today where they're basically crying out, can we just go and buy 4 decent defenders? And I'm kind of like, the defence have done actually all right. I know you then say bar a couple of silly mistakes, but actual defensive structure is actually there compared to something that, and we're going to touch upon this a lot, then and now. What we had before, like this time last season, or it might have been, we had a belief that we were going to have a decent defence, and suddenly it was non-existent. But it was funny to get the old Civ jokes back out there after Alkmaar. And thankfully, I mean, again, just after another Shane Duffy man of the match performance, I don't know what's happened in August, but it's quite surreal. But again, so that was us. Europa League got through, and then the draw. So. Real Betis, so one of your old favourites with the green and whites. Real Betis, I saw you were having a chat back.
I had their top years and years ago. Betis top, the green and white vertical, which for those who don't know was actually one of Celtic's tops before they went to the hoops. They had it for a few years, and the story was that a guy from Sevilla Betis.
Peter Lawwell sold them.
Peter Lawwell sold them 100 years ago. Peter Lawwell's great-granda sold them it. And he took the green white vertical strips back to Seville, and Betis adopted it, and that was it. So what appears to be with Betis is that, I forget all these, how things are always black and white with some people, right? And they see a section of a club's ultras representing the entire club, whereas in effect, the ultras for a club is 1%, if you're lucky, of a club support, right? But Betis, by and large, their fans are desperate for this game. They've been desperate for this game for generations. They see us. Their fans, they see us as their game because of the strip. Think about it. The strips came for us. Celtic is the kind of mother club, so they're desperate for this game, right? So that'll be good. I was also desperate to go, but I was hoping anything but the first game. It's the first game, isn't it? So my oldest boy, he's booked. They're going to Malaga. Brings back the memories, doesn't it? They're going to Malaga for a couple of days, and then Seville. They'll be good, right? Spanish is always kind of good at this level. We've got Leverkusen, who'll be good team. Yeah, happy good for quite a number of years.
Of course, your little man Frimpong is back. Hopefully, he did get an injury, but apparently it's not too bad. But I saw that and I thought, oh my days, Hector will be happy. You had him as your pin tweet for the tweet.
I'll be shouting, boot the wee prick.
Exactly. Half him, Ralston, half
I know. You just know he's going to put in some fabulous crosses, isn't he?
Oh, he's going to do like 50 yards in 0.4 seconds or something, and you'll just see like a programme coming out the crowd, and I'm like, that's Hector, you can guarantee that's Hector. He'll be one. But again, before it was going to be, again, I kept asking, could we get Midtjylland after we qualified? Because we all seem to have that, don't we? So I'd say this time you could maybe say it's Ferencváros as a kind of follow-up to last season? You know what I mean?
It was, aye. Yeah. And by the way, although they beat us 2-1, that seems to be the start of our decay. Last year was actually that game, wasn't it? If you look back to that game, we battered them. Absolutely battered them. And I think we had a goal disallowed that was clearly onside to go 2-1 up. And then, as we spoke about, I remember the podcast straight after it, where we're one each, we're at home, it's only one leg, it's going to extra time. We're so much on top, and Celtic went man for man at the back, didn't they? No. Was it with 3 or 4 minutes to go? But listen, we battered them now. They might have a better team this year. I think we certainly will have a better team when we play them. So unless they've improved dramatically, I think we've got to be looking to take at least 4 points against them to give ourselves a sniff of getting to the top 3. Because third goes into the Conference League, doesn't it?
That's the
playoff,
the new Conference League. So again, I don't mean you'd be happy enough to go down to that level, but you'd be content to know you've got a wee game to look forward to in the February or March. Even though
it's a pile of pish, isn't it? If you finish third, you're going to have another tournament.
But then your Tottenham's not actually might start to get interested because they're in that conference, but they might actually start to play the first team. Not at that point because they're actually is going towards a trophy. But we'll see. But it's good to have Europe, and then of course this the highlight. Credit where it's due. The pricing structure. 74?
72, wasn't it? 24 quid a game for us to buy the 3 games. Bad. That is all right, isn't it? Was it 14 quid for under 13s? I think it was 14 quid, which is good.
And if anyone follows us on Twitter at eTimsNet, you may have saw me posting up a lot of stuff from my mother's old loft. Basically, I've been helping with a family house move over this weekend, and we basically found a lot of my stuff that had been at my mum's loft. And I found the Valencia.
Did you find your old wallet?
Oh, no chance, mate. You couldn't. They're in the Hunterian. I'd fun mind our old Valencia tickets.
Oh, how can you forget
for our joyous trips following Celtic away. But I also found the home ticket, and that was £23. But I think that might have been for me and Morgan in the family stand. But that was £23. So I put that up, and people were saying, "Well, there you go. That's not too bad." And that was that great kind of penalty shootout that we lost, but that's still one of the great. The amount of memories from that game people were posting on Twitter.
See the Valencia game? They were brilliant. See the Valencia away game that we went to? It was us two. I forget, was it Stuart? Aye. And we went to obviously Barcelona flight and blah blah blah. Glasgow, Luton, Barcelona, then the train to Valencia. It was brilliant. But was that not the game where? Was it Valencia started selling the tickets on the day to away fans for like €4 or something?
I'd paid £30 and you get one for €4.
€4. That was the cost of my flight. That was my easy jet flight.
Celtic had to give refunds. Remember when we get back because everybody was complaining because all the Celtic supporters club had turned up and all that. Basically, we paid thousands of pounds for €4 tickets. You know what I mean?
That was a brilliant trip, wasn't it? For those who don't know, Desi, you're better at telling the stories than me, but when we arrived in Barcelona, was it 2 nights before the game, a night before? I can't remember.
I think we were 2 nights.
And we went to the Nou camp. Sorry, it's now called the camp now, isn't it?
Back then, it's so long ago.
And remember, we didn't really know. And was it across from the stadium was an underground car park where the Barcelona players would park their cars, wasn't it?
Their exit ramp was there on the side of the road they were walking up.
Us three, we seen a group of about, say, 50 to 100 young Barcelona fans there. And we thought, it must be something happening. You remember we walked over and some of the players came out. And was it Patrick Kluivert?
It was Patrick Kluivert.
You tell the story here. You tell the story.
No, it's all right. But remember, because Celtic, we were about to play Valencia the next day. And so we went up to the new camp training. And then these cars were coming out this underground kind of exit. And it was Patrick Anderson. Remember, we met him, the big Swedish centre-half, chatting to him. Well, again, like, Hector, to be fair to you, you've been a shy East Ender. You just kind of binged right through all these very polite Spaniards who were waiting with our autograph books and went straight up and kind of stood in front of the car, straight up to the car window. How you doing, Patrick? You all right? So we started talking with Patrick Anderson about Henrik Larsson, remember?
Oh, my God.
His pal Henrik Larsson. So we were talking to the Swedish centre-half. I don't know if he was a captain.
He was a captain of the national team.
Talking about him, and then he said, he wished as well. He said it was going to be a tough game. That was fine. And then the next game, so we thought that was brilliant. How good was that? That was magic. We're about to leave to go into the museum, and this other car started coming up the driveway, and it was Patrick Kluivert. So you're this bridged in. How you doing, Patrick? He's like, how you? And you can obviously, he was a bit startled. We're 3 guys over from Glasgow. We're going to the Celtic game tomorrow. And he's like, oh, very good, very good. Yeah, Celtic. Yes, they're big rivals, Rangers. Yeah, Dick Advocaat. He's leaving Holland to be the next manager of Rangers.
That's right.
And we kind of looked like
a world exclusive.
Sorry, went, yes, Dick has just phoned me. Remember, Dick Advocaat had just phoned the Dutch players to let them know that he was resigning to go and join Rangers. And we pinged, and again, apologies, folks, if you've heard this story a million times, but we'll come to the Hugh Keevin story in a minute. But the Patrick Kluivert gave us the world exclusive. I mean, this is the very early days of the internet. Tims had this progressed with the Dog's Box, and we pinged that story back to Steve Clark, the head of Tims at the time, and he refused to publish it because he thought, A, we were at the wind up, and B, we were pished.
Well, he was right with the second bit. We were absolutely pished. Right? For 2 days.
It was 2 days afternoon.
But just for folk who see things now, everything's obviously, everything's Twitter's immediate, right? Bang, bang, bang. There was no Twitter. So in effect, most of the news at the time still came from your press, your mainstream media, the press, like a day later. So you see, we phoned up Clarkey, who was the editor and ran that created the site. We're fucking telling you, we've just spoke to Patrick Kluivert. You can imagine him on the other side, right? We've been drinking for 2 days. By the way, we've just spoke to Patrick Kluivert. You're never going to believe us. Aye, never going to believe you spoke to Patrick Kluivert, full stop. And number 2, he's just told the Stick Advocates, the next manager Rangers. So you can imagine his reaction. It's amazing, isn't it? A world exclusive, and he wouldn't believe us.
Yeah, we didn't even have the opportunity. I was going to say, we didn't even have the brains to immediately put a big, massive bet on it. I mean, because again, it was the big, who's going to be the next manager Rangers? It was David Murray and his millions, the kind of RBS millions back then. But you didn't even have like online betting to go and place a mad bet. But that was good. But then, of course, we went to the Valencia game. Big Rob Douglas, you get your €4 tickets, so you were laughing. We were in the Mestalla, away up in the gods in Mestalla, unbelievable, almost hanging off. We were literally hanging off to watch the game. Rob Douglas had the game of his life.
What
Neil
a game he had.
Neil Lennon gave away the free kick when the goal came through. We get beat 1-0, and that was okay. We're like, that's okay for getting back to Glasgow. We walked down to, and there's all the police with the guns escorting all the Celtic fans away to the buses.
So we're staying the night.
Remember, we're like, no, we stay here, we're staying here. And the police lifted his gun and let us walk around the other side, and it was deserted. Man, we walked into the whole place, the whole Mestalla was deserted. Yep. We've walked almost right around the stadium and came back home myself, and we were looking through the turnstile, and we were like, what's that? And we realised it was a pitch.
That's right.
We just strolled through the turnstile, walks onto the pitch, and because I had a wee collection of grass for all the pitches for that run. I mean, I managed to get grass from almost every pitch, and we end up on the pitch. There was a guy getting interviewed with some camera crew while he was a wee boy. We don't know.
And there's us three with Celtic taps on.
Remember, there was a wee kind of Spanish boy running about with a ball, and we were trying to get a kick over. And eventually they realised we weren't meant to be there. We've kind of get escorted back out, but we've just...
The crowd's been shouting in Spanish. Piss off!
No, but remember, we get sent out, so we get back up. By the time we've left the stadium, we're just on outside the stadium, we realise the Celtic bus has turned up, and Rob Douglas has walked out, and we're shouting, one Rob Douglas. He gets on the bus, he's at the back of the bus, we're only 3 years there, we're shouting one Rob Douglas. The police came up and tried to move, or the police stroke guard there, or whatever, they came up and tried to move us. And big Rob Douglas hits the window and says, basically leave the kids alone. And he comes off the bus. We're starting Rob Douglas.
Big bang comes off, doesn't he?
Brilliant. So that
big bang.
You thought it couldn't peak any better. And
there was a second bus, remember, there was a second bus maybe about 25-30 metres behind the Celtic bus. Right? That's what you were going to say, wasn't it? And it I think it said the front of the window, didn't it? It was like press or media or something like that, didn't it? Say that. We're like, oh, I saw that shower. So we're all hyper. What a laugh we've had. And everyone's favourite journalist, hack, whatever you want to call him, wind-up merchant, granda, curmudgeon, Hugh, Shug, where's your mother, Keevans, comes out, doesn't he? I think he's the last one out for the stadium with one other hack. Walked past the team bus, heading towards the media bus, but outside the Mestalla was big kind of concrete pillars, big columns, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit like
I think I'm not sure if it was you, Stuart, me, or the three of us all at the one time. I can't remember. Something like Hugh, you're a wanker. I can't remember.
No, shouting one Hugh Keevans, something like that, because when we shouting one Rob Douglas and Big Tam Boyd was loving it. Remember, he was sitting in the window, but then Keevans walked in and shouted, one Who Keevans. I'm sure there was somebody else shouting, you wank. Right?
That may have been me, I think.
If you shouted one Who Keevans, he's basically so surprised. He's turned around to look at us, but kept walking right into the column.
Concrete cover.
Brilliant. Oh, that was.
And the best thing about one of the best things about it, well, the other thing funny was what he did, was it was right in front of the Celtic team bus. Don't know if you remember. All of them were half over laughing because Hugh had walked into a concrete pillar outside the Mestalla Stadium. So anyway, sorry folks, we digressed from Celtic's European campaign, but we had to regurgitate that. We also had a great story. Going to Turin, remember? But we'll cover that another time with my nephew and let's just say my nephew and the guards with the sniffer dogs.
we could call that the Italian job. we covered more miles than Michael Palin around the world.
And you met your hero at Turin Airport, George Galloway, remember?
That's it, George Galloway with Dermot Desmond, no less. I mean, the adventures we've had following Celtic over.
What your book here?
But again, that just shows you that wasn't the Champions League then. That was the UEFA Cup or whatever we were playing. Valencia.
No, that's the Champions League. That was Juventus away, was it not?
Was that I was one on the.
That was Mon's first. That was his first season. Remember that one they beat 3-2 and they took a dive in the last minute. Amoruso, no, the Rangers Amoruso. This other Amoruso took the dive.
But that was good. But I ended up because when I moved away to work in England, I ended up being in the Valencia Supporters Club. I know, but it's amazing. It's like, again, you just take it for granted, or there's selling supporters clubs all over the world and all that. But then you realise other clubs have the same, like the Valencia club. There's a cracking Barcelona supporters club in London on the boat in the Thames I've been on, watching Barcelona play Real Madrid. That was a brilliant night. No, these sort of things. So it's always, I'd recommend that to anybody if you've got an interest in any other team. Have a wee look and you'll find, like Valencia are unbelievable. Every time Valencia play away, they invite any away fans to have dinner with the team the night before. It's courtesy of the president of Valencia. And they basically get introduced to all the team, and the team are duty bound to go and meet the fans the night before the game. These three sort of things make some amount of difference. So so that was it. And again, apologies folks, this shows you we had an agenda that did not include going back to Valencia all the years ago. But that's a lifelong memory. Hector, and Stuart somewhere he's now down in Birmingham. So I dare say we could fly out of Birmingham if we wanted. He used to stay in Luton. That's how we left for Luton the last time. Stuart, so that was good. And he only went to annoy his pals, a die-hard Rangers fan. I mean, Stuart wasn't even that bothered about the football. But he was just there to wind up Shug. So that was us. So that was Europe. So we qualified for Europe. That was all well and good. So that was magic. And then we had, of course, the Rangers game coming up. So pre-game, I never saw it, but I saw you tweeting about the Ange interview that would get posted up. And I saw a lot of people's reaction. A lot of people seem to really take it to heart. So could you just kind of cover that for anyone that may have missed it?
Aye, it's obviously difficult to cover what you kind of said word for word, but it was a really good interview. In effect, it was just Ange talking, so they obviously cut out whoever had asked him questions. So it just looked as if Ange was off in a monologue, just chatting. But what was good about it, it was obviously asked about the family and moving to Australia, and he was really relaxed. He was talking about it, and he was basically saying, look, he was 5-year-old and born in Greece, lived in Greece, parents are from Greece, family, and his mother and father decided that Greece was in a bit of upheaval at the time. A lot of trouble for those folk who think now they can't really see it, but there was, I think, the way back, the late 60s, kind of early 70s, there was trouble in Greece. And his family made the decision to move to try and give them better opportunities for him and his family. And he said he was 5-year-old and on a boat from Greece to Australia for a month with mum and dad and the rest of his family, and said mum and dad could speak in English. Neither could he. Ended up where they moved to. And he was basically just saying that he's convinced that his mother and father had a better life in Greece, their family, their friends, and they gave up all of that, everything, to try and give him and his family a chance of a better life. And he pretty much said, look, immigrants don't move for a lot of the preconceived ideas. He goes, the vast majority of the time it's about trying to give others a better chance of a better quality of life, a better chance in life.
Yep.
It's just talking like that, really. And he looked, it seemed, what do you say, choking up? But you know, when someone's in a kind of bubble in a zone when they're talking, and as they're talking, they're thinking about people, and we know this because we're both in the same situation. Mother and father are unfortunately no longer with us, both of us, and you still get choked up talking about it, and you could tell. And he was saying about his love of football came from his father. It's a big connection with the old country in Greece, and his dad would go and watch him everywhere, and he was coaching and beating teams, whatever, and they were doing well, 4-0, and his father saying, aye son, 4-0 should be 7-0. We've all been there, right? Never happy. He actually said there's also some fabulous footage when, I don't know which team it was in Australia, Brisbane or one of the Melbourne teams had won a trophy, his first trophy, and there's old footage and it showed you his father's on the pitch, and he's running about kind of celebrating, and he was just talking about it, and talking about Celtic and being the immigrant, in effect being the immigrant club, and its core values should never be lost, it should be cherished, and that's from him as an immigrant.
Yeah.
And when you watch it as a man, I can only talk about it as a man. It's early days in his Celtic coaching career, and you know, you and I in particular, nothing against Ange Postecoglou personally, we didn't know the man. We just felt at the time after the Eddie Howe fiasco that we'd went to an unknown with no European experience. That was our gripe. Nothing to do with Ange. We didn't know who Ange was, right? But what I will say is, having watched that, as a man, I don't think we could have appointed a better man as a Celtic, a man who gets the values, who knows what the club's about, who's got strong values himself, and when he talks, he's no bullshitting you. He's no doing a Brendan. He's not looking to pull the wool over your eyes. He's just a straight talking man with high standards. So I'm 100% with the guy, and I really, I think probably since Tommy Burns, the man you really want to do well. Yeah. You want all Celtic managers to do well, right? Well, no, but you know how when you've just got this special affinity with a guy, you think, fuck, I'd love this guy to succeed, and it does that. It really does that. So if you get the chance, watch it. It'll be Sky. Even their website or on their Twitter account, they put it out there on Sunday. Go back and find it. We retweeted it. Just watch it. It's about 5 or 6 minutes. It's wonderful viewing and listening if you get the chance.
Yeah, that scene I like bit he was talking about. I know my father. If my father was still alive, I know he'd be out here trying to get a ticket for every game, every minute. And as you say, this gets it. And I think that's what's really getting people. The amount it gets it. It's not just a case of, this is a great world-renowned club that everyone's heard of. It's like kind of actual emotional heartstring stuff. It's an actual it's real emotion. He does have the emotional ties that bind it. And somebody did quote the other day, as in when you were doing the Real Betis kind of link-ups, are you bringing back the Celtic family? And that's the sort of thing that kind of reinforces that Celtic family idea. Not a bit, but like Ange with his dad, the immigrants, and he was trying to highlight the fact that what immigrants bring and what they give. You know what I mean? That sort of thing, and how they should be.
He said immigrants actually enhance the country.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They enhance a country, and he sees it not in a. I'm trying to get my words right here. It's difficult at times. You know, like Brendan Rodgers, he had the gift of the gab and charisma. He did, right, and he did this, but he's not doing it that way. He's doing it in a kind of understated, quiet, having a conversation.
Yeah.
And my admiration for the man, just watched it, I must admit, genuinely, it went through the roof. And then he comes across as a top class person, with no bullshit, no underhand approach. If he ends up moving Celtic successfully at Celtic, guess what? In 3 years' time, hey, guess what? He might move to the English Premier League. If he's a great success, he'll be surprised if he doesn't get the offer. But based on what I've seen and based on how he's talking, it just seems like a top class person. Yeah.
But even that was a really special piece. That, but in every general piece, even when dealing with the media, he's no sarky with him. No, he's just straight with him, as in that's not really like that whole debacle with Kyogo and the Rangers fans on the bus. It made this something that goes, Rangers did the right thing because and I'll protect him. And that kind of thing, people, this is a great country. No, that kind of thing. This seems to, at the moment, being able to say the right thing, but without the appearance of he's having to think about what he's saying.
There's no agenda behind what he's saying.
He's just naturally saying, this is how I feel, and it turns out, that's actually, the guy's a genuine okay guy. I mean, the guy's an alright guy, and he's not just we've seen and heard from quite a few in various roles at Celtic over the years. I mean, we all know there's been a few. So that was that, right? We'll know about it. And again, we kind of touched that. It was good to see, I don't know if anyone saw it, the highlights of all the Celtic fans up at the Dakota cheering the team onto the buses before the game. We don't really need to talk about the Union Bears going through Glasgow, etc. I'm sure everybody saw that, the whole famine song. debacle. Good. It's good at least to see that's getting the kind of political coverage.
Well, it's now getting called what it is. It's now getting called racism, right?
Uh-huh.
No, it's easy. I know we say we'll talk about other things, but we know through experience, and it's just pure lazy journalism, lazy media, sectarianism, because they tarred everyone with the same brush. We know because we grew up all tarred the same. Two different cheeks, the same arse was how they always seen us and them, right? And I could get it for some times where some of your behaviour came back in the day. We know, because we're honest about it. Some of the stuff that I'm no proud of when I was 16, 17, 18 that I sung, but it doesn't happen. It hasn't happened for such a long time. Now, we've dealt with it, but it's getting worse there. It's like Donald Trump FC, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just as if we're pushing boundaries further and further and further to take us back, further and further back in time to the bad old days. And now at long last, it's getting called anti-Irish racism.
Yeah.
And that's the first time we've ever heard it get called, only in the last few months. So
yeah. There's been a few. It's interesting to say that because it was interesting. Like yesterday, when a few of us were commenting on like Twitter, etc., and various social media bits, the responses were quite quiet. If you know what I mean, as in there was no immediate kind of backlash or anything. But then more and more people started saying, "Well, wait a minute, what's the politicians doing here?" But especially more and more people started asking, "What's Police Scotland doing here?"
Aye.
There's a couple of police at the front, there's a couple of police at the side. What's going on here? And then Police Scotland today have had to come out and make a statement. Bernard Higgins come out and make a statement. Okay, they expect arrests to be made. They're looking into it. They had to react to, what was it, a flash mob suddenly or getting organised.
A flash mob appeared in Jamaica Street, just off of Gale Street, right? Whatever, how many, 50 or 100 of them. And whoever the cops were, they've ran there. So it's not as if it's been a march that they've facilitated, although you can see the image and it looks a bit like that.
Yeah.
But by the way, they deal with them. But Rangers, they've got to come out. They come out after the Kyogo situation, as you were touched upon with Ange there, right? And they said they're going to ban such and such and ban the supporters club. Right. Now take action over this. Ban these people.
Well, as I said, I dare say, we weren't going to talk about this much, but I dare say everyone saw the pictures of the Union Bears inside the dressing rooms and all that at Celtic Park. They're a big part of the kind of affiliation network.
At Ibrox, not Celtic Park, at Ibrox.
I know it. No, that's the Celtic Park there. Sorry, apologies. I was going to say Murray Park and all that, so apologies. But also, I think they may be part of the £25,000. I know Follow do it. Pay the £25,000 for press coverage. You know, like Rangers charge £25,000 for the press to attend any press conferences this season. So I've got a feeling that they may also contribute to the coffers. So wait and see. But again, so it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But again, I think that's the fourth time now they have been highly visible, singing, etc., and demonstrating, marching through Glasgow City.
It's the police force, right? Everyone, we know that. We've been saying this for so long now. Political parties, irrespective of who they are, SNP, Labour, Liberal, they've done nothing, right? Or very little. I'd actually say Labour were worse because they ran the council and had an Orange Fest and all sorts, but that's by the by. The Tories are the Tories. The Tories have jumped on the bigot card and they've been using it unashamedly for about 10 years now, hence why they're second and they've got their vote now, right? They are what they are. They're scumbags, the Tories, always have been for a number of reasons, right? But the way the things are, it just has to get dealt with. Just get it dealt with. But the police, in my opinion, have for far too long not upheld the law. The law's the law, and they do nothing about it. And they're bullies in many ways, the police. They're picking easy targets.
Yeah,
see, they see something's maybe a threat, they step back. If you're out canvassing for Save the Planet or Greenpeace, they'll come and get you, no bother. Or women, what was the women at Clapham Common down in Police Scotland?
Like the three asylum seekers they were trying to deport, and then they sent in like 4 wagons or whatever it was.
That was the south side, wasn't it? The south side of Glasgow, yeah. But they in many a case now. There's nowadays the police is probably very different. It will be very different in terms of officers of all denominations, no denominations. But let's be blunt about this. Probably the vast majority still have a persuasion towards a team over that side of the city, Ibrox, right? And that's probably part of the problem. Being honest about it, it probably is, right?
Yeah. So let's see. It'll be interesting to see how that develops. So that was pre-game. So that was pre-game. We had the juxtaposition of the different fans. So then it came to the game itself. So the lineups, when you heard the lineups, you heard Juranovic was getting his debut due to Taylor being out, but then that meant man of the season, Ralston, being switched over. Hector, how was your tactical brain hearing the news of the lineup and Edouard starting?
I was okay with it because Taylor was out. I got why Montgomery didn't start. I got that, right? You know, to have his actual debut after having a good 55, 60 minutes in Holland. Experienced Croatian international comes in who is versatile, could play there. I got that. It'd be daft to change Ralston. He's been so good at right back. Something I don't think any of us said at the start of the season, right? And Edouard, there was no Forrest for experience. You just don't know what Eddie's going to turn up, right? That's the problem. And unfortunately for us, it's been the piss poor one that we've been watching now for too long. I would just say, so you asked a question about the team. I was okay with it. Tom Rogic was very poor on Thursday at Alkmaar, mainly because Alkmaar were very good and they pressed the life out of us, right? I got that. I kind of got that. So I was okay with the team based on who was there. But I would just say goals change games, right? And it summed up, unfortunately, how Odsonne Edouard's been for us, that as good a chance as you'll ever get at any level, he puts that in. We go 1-0 up. There's no any Celtic fans there. There's 50,000 of them. What are they then going to do, their fans, as they're renowned for doing? They're going to turn in their team, aren't they? They're going to turn in each other because there's no Celtic fans there to have a go at, and turn in their own team. We go 1-0 up. Could you imagine what happened there? I'm convinced they'd have fallen apart under the pressure and the negative shouts from their own fans, and we could have picked them off. But he misses the sitter of all sitters, and instead of going 1-0 at half time, we don't. The game changes.
Well, so I actually had a debate the day with a guy, and he was like really bad mouthing Edouard, the usual get him to fuck, blah 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 blah. And I'm kind of going, but he has been great for us. We've been great for him. He's been great for us. Let's not get all kind of doom and gloom and negative towards him. I mean, just because it's coming to an end. I mean, things naturally come to an end. I don't think Ange's team suits Edouard. Maybe Edouard at the very top of his game, firing all cylinders, aye. But with the current mindset and knowing he's leaving, that kind of thing, it's a case of, well, let's just wish him. Let's wish him well. He ends up going to Crystal. I'd rather he maybe went to Crystal Palace and get his big money move, rather than there's various rumours of various teams in France.
Is it possible, right? I genuinely don't know this. I mean, I might have spoke about this before. He's had COVID, I think, at least once. Yeah. He just physically, he looks a yard shorter.
Oh, that's
and he's only, he's only 22, 23. He should be getting quicker and stronger. And he looks a yard off the pace. Is it possible he's got long COVID or some COVID-related issues? And if he has, then the onus would be in the Celtic medical staff to say to Ange, don't play him.
Yeah.
So
or adapt his game. Because again, I was see when they have the lineups, I actually thought, well, maybe it's going to be a case of like Ange used to like swapping Forrest and Abada over, you know that way, or Kyogo and Abada. Maybe he'll swap Kyogo and Edouard during the game. Like one of you go through the middle there, one because Edouard used to play it wide.
That's right.
I mean, when Dembele was there, so it's not as if it's a position he like his dribbling could have quite easily come in handy because Kyogo wasn't up for dribbling on Sunday, but so Edouard's dribbling against Balogun might have come in handy. That's the idea. But we just seem so suddenly like that focal point was missing, and then it was all wee bit kind of bitty. I mean, Abada, the game just passed him by.
I actually thought we controlled the first half without creating a lot of chances. Right? We controlled the game, the tempo of the game, the speed of the game. I thought the first half we did reasonably well. Just take your simple chance, and you'd have got the half-time lead your play deserved. Put all sorts of pressure on them. I would just say though, the start for the kick off the second half, they just put the ball long, won an early free kick, and just put us under intense pressure until they scored. The goal was coming. In fact, they themselves are in so many good positions to put a cross in on the right and the left, and time after time, a mixture of Barisic and Kent or Roof were putting in dreadful crosses when a basic cross might have put us in trouble. So we get out of jail a wee bit. The goal came, no surprise, set piece. But again, people are this and that. We've only got 2 headers there. We've got Welsh and we've got Starfelt. They had 3 centre-backs compared to yours 2, right? They had Golson, Hellmander that scored, and Balogun. And they've got Roof's fairly decent there. Morelos is fairly decent there. Aribo's fairly decent there. We don't have that. So they've got a physical advantage because of the lack of height in the Celtic team. That's just reality. But then they tried to protect their lead. They were dominating. They brought on that guy for Sheffield United, Lundstrom, I think it was, they signed. And then they let us back into it. And we actually should have equalised in the last 10, 15 minutes. Kyogo, good shot, squares it to tap in for Christie. Then I think because he didn't square that one, he then tried to square the next one rather than shooting. It was a better position. So a draw over the 90 was probably a fair result, I felt. But I would say to you, and we discussed in our WhatsApp chat and everything, the group of us, that I was worried a month ago that we could get a doing here. I still thought they would beat us on Sunday because I thought physically they would bully us a wee bit, more like they did the second half. They didn't do it the first half. It wasn't a surprise. But I've seen enough, Desi, from us with the limited time that Ange has had. He's trying to totally transform our style of play. I can see a lot of positives. And I think over the next few months, I can just see us getting stronger and stronger, is my honest assessment of things.
Yeah, well, we'll come out in a wee second. But yeah, no, I just thought from an Ange perspective, I just think he gave them a wee bit too much respect. It's his first game at Ibrox, no Celtic fans there, etc. A few disruptions to the Celtic team, like taking Taylor out the left back role. I mean, like for all people lambast his defensive abilities or whatever, lack of defensive abilities in people's eyes. It does some amount of running up and down that park. It does some amount of interlinking with the left side of the park. And I mean, like getting to the byline, crossing the ball over for, I mean, like that kind of idea for Turnbull Derby. It does some amount of, he gets up and down. So you take him out, and suddenly it's a case of, right, Hector's used to working with Greg Taylor. Greg Taylor's not there. Hector's not really that used to working with the new guy. No, that's what I did. Suddenly that wee kind of relationship has to be reformed. You're maybe not playing the ball in the exact second you should. At one point, I think we passed the ball at the park, and that was a wee kind of example, in my opinion, of like suddenly when you take players out a recognised position, and it kind of the ripple effect right through the whole team. So I think, but then this Ange, I think he thought Rangers were going to attack us a lot more than they did, whereas Rangers basically played a rope-a-dope first half. Basically, they said, well, you can have possession, but you're not going to get by us. I know we did, and we should have scored. But I think he assumed Rangers were going to attack us at home a lot more than they actually did until the second half. And by that time, we'd missed our golden chance to probably kill the game, as you say. So I don't think we'll do that again.
I would throw one other thing into the mix, though, right? And as a mitigant for what we've seen. Ange just said now numerous times, and he said it now, as I say, in a normal manner. It's not a whinging manner, but we lack depth now. He's because the style of play his team plays, right? It's 100 mile an hour. Or that's certainly what he wants it to be, is 100 mile an hour, right? And you can't play that way constantly with the same 13, 14 players. You can't do it, right? But what I would say is, and I think it's vitally important, both of us played on Thursday night, right? They went away to possibly the worst team I've ever seen at that level, who got a man sent off early on. They in effect did a training session for 90 minutes. If you get a chance to, I'm not suggesting Andy should go and watch it, but it was on earlier than our game with BBC Scotland, and it was walking about passing the ball. It was a training session. We, on the other hand, played on Thursday night as high and intense games you're ever likely to see for 90 plus minutes. It was chalk and cheese. Our players put in 100% to get through with the skin of our teeth on Thursday night. Their players had a practice match. It does matter. And for me, I think we blew a gas just a wee bit until they sat deep and defended to try and see the game out the last 10, 15 minutes. So I would give the club and give Ange and the players a wee bit of wee bit of support in that manner, because I don't care who at that level you play that way against a team that pressed the life out of us. It does take it out of you, and that's what I felt.
I don't doubt that. But again, like I'd put up a tweet saying, try to look at it for the usual, putting all your different hats on, putting on a hard reality hat. Tough love for it. There's a Doug agreeing with me or disagreeing with me.
That's my dog. That's Murphy this time.
Putting the tough love hat on. I was like, let's remember that was a Rangers team with their keeper, who's their talisman keeper, their third choice keeper in goal, and they'd lost their captain and had their third choice right back idea. You know what I mean? And I just thought there was an opportunity there that we just didn't grasp. I mean, like you could cite it down to Edward missing that golden chance, and that could have been the pivotal point. It could have run onto a 3-0 win. You know what I mean? I'd like bets on like Kyogo to have at least 2 assists. I mean, I was that confident that we could actually.
I noticed your stuff, and usually we'll do stuff online in the Twitter account, and I'll do pre-match predictions, and I didn't do it this time because you know what it's like. If I'd have put a pre-match prediction, I think we're going to get beat, right? Can you know what happens next? Call yourself a Celtic supporter.
Even Hugh Keevins would be having a go at you.
You're looking for a job in the media. What do you like? So
Yeah,
I thought no.
Sellout.
I just thought everything was stacked in their favour. 50,000 home advantage, settled squad for 3 seasons. We had a really tough game on Thursday night. I expect them to beat us, but I see a lot of positives. And it's no. By the way, I'm like you. I've been very, I think, honest and candid about things for the start of the season. I've seen a lot now that I think will do really well this season. I really do. On condition, though. Transfer deadline, we're going to come to that. It's due to shut very soon.
We'll condition. A quick round up of basically, we've kind of covered it. But one of the last tweets I sent out last night, this is after the game, a couple of hours after the game, was after today's game and the season so far, Celtic fans should be, and it was A. And so I've just wrote here, ROAD, ROAD review. So realistic, someone actually offered this. I was initially saying optimistic, angry, disappointed, but someone also said we should be realistic. And this made me think of you, Hector, because you had been advocating, let's remember where we were. And we're not just talking about, we were shite under Lennon, but even as a club, even like the fan base, we were totally cast to the 7 wins. I think everybody was fighting with everybody. Nobody was interested. The fans weren't in the stadium. No, that sort of. It was all totally disjointed and dispirited. And now, as you even touched on things like Ange's immigrant story and that sort of thing, is that bonding is really starting. The bonds are getting stronger and stronger between teammates, between management, between fans and the team. No, that sort of. You can kind of start to see it all starting to gel. So, are you optimistic? Angry, disappointed? What's your thoughts overall? I know you've got a few caveats, but I think you're a lot more positive than some. I.e. Ralph.
But he changes like a fart in the wind, right?
He's Hugh Keevins. He's just trying to be the old grumpy McFuck. Remember him?
He changes game to game, right? Celtic wins 6-0, suddenly he's got to win the Champions League next season, right?
He's always unhappy. It's no 7. He always wins 7-0. That's his bet every week. 7-0.
I think most of us here, a wee bit of common sense, right? We were all worried. End of last season, we were going nowhere. Aging squad had dismantled. Morale was at its lowest level in a decade. Law was leaving, which wasn't a bad thing, but he took too long to leave. He left earlier than what he did, right? Well, anyway, and Mackay's coming in. The fiasco with Eddie Howe, getting Ange in so late in the day. So we had as bad a start, as poor a preparation could have possibly got for this season, with a threadbare squad, right? So when you think back to when we did pods not that long ago, right? I think we'd all broadly agreed, look, if we can be round about them within about 6-7 points at Christmas time, then let the January window come in when Ange gets a chance to bed in some new ones in addition to who he's got, that's our chance. I would actually say now we're 4 or 5 weeks on from that conversation. were far better than I'd hoped for. Because what you can see is, you can actually see what he's trying to do, right? The frustration with Lennon is, what the fuck's he trying to do, right? With Ange, you may not agree with it. Everyone's entitled to how they want to see football played, but you can actually see he wants to play a high tempo, high energy, press their life out of teams, give and go attacking football. You can see it. Well, it'll be risky. Absolutely. Take risks at the back. It gets me and you and others of our ilk pulling our hair out and screaming, get it to fuck. He's not going to do that. So people like you and me, I'm picking on us, but you know what I mean? We've got to adapt, because he ain't changing. He's not going to go to a pragmatic approach right now. He's going to just play his style of play. He's going to get the players to buy into it. It's going to be its ups and downs. And I think already this season you can see the pros and the cons. But what I would say with the pros is, the pros I think are going to get better and better. I think the cons will decrease once he's got more time to just work with the squad, because we're playing 2 games a week, pretty much constantly now, since the start of the season. He's bedding in new players bit by bit. Every week he's got at least 1 or 2 new players bringing in. It just takes time. So if we can get to Christmas within about 6 points of them, right? I actually think we'll be closer than that, if not ahead of them. But within 6 points, it's game on. And you think back a few weeks when we had this conversation, we were all very concerned. Very concerned.
The thing that most, like, again, I've been thinking this in a lot of cases. Again, I was a lot more in the disappointed stroke angry camp, but that was just an immediate reaction, because
of course,
I do think there's a big opportunity. As I mentioned before, I did think there's a big opportunity for us to go there and really slap them down, and then basically that would have put them sliding away. I think it was Boys Analytics, to be fair to them, on Twitter, had a cracking example or comparison today, and they said they're thinking about yesterday's game like the Fraser Foster Cup final, where they played us off the park, did everything bar score, and then we had one chance and scored for a set piece, and then that was it. We won the cup, but we were a team on the slide. We'd plateaued then, and we were about to go on the slide, and they were on the ascendancy. And I think that is a good comparison. I think we are on the ascendancy. The thing that I've been thinking about a lot is, I don't think any of us, like, you dread the reports about Ange ball and all that fancy football, but I don't think any of us actually appreciated the difference it would be football wise. I mean, I'm not talking about the swanky 6-0 wins and all that. It's just the sheer intensity and the sheer football philosophy of, no, you will play out for the back. You will. But the only thing that annoys me about playing out the back is, like, watching Alkmaar. Their 2 centre-halves go 20 yards away from the keeper. Ours don't know to create a bit of space and bigger triangles. We still seem to be within the 5 to 10 yards away. So I'd like us to create a wee bit of space, because that maybe help me in your heart a wee bit, being that they kind of old warriors. But again, that's just the way it is. But it's just a total different football mentality. And to get the players who, let's be honest, they were on their arse after last year. Some of them come back for the Euros, etc., then said, right, I want you to suddenly adopt this, get as fit as possible, as quickly as possible, and then start to play this way. Callum McGregor, you're going to be this pendulum all the time. You've not got a Scott Brown next year, and I think he could actually be dealing with some backup. Hopefully James McCarthy will get to a level where he's able to supplement him and also play beside him, because I think it would be nice if we had an alternative, because Alkmaar just put a guy on, Cal Mack, and they knew straight away the ball's always going to go through him. So if we could have a weekend, or Turnbull starts going back 10 yards, you know, that kind of idea.
But remember, Desi, I would just say to you, I totally, everything you said there, I agree with pretty much most of it. I would just say, domestically, which is, you know, we all want a decent run in Europe, but we all know the benefits. Win the league, you're straight in the Champions League. Being the champions, number one, straight in the Champions League, right? But I think domestically, how we're playing right now, I think we'll wipe the floor with most teams, because what was one of our frustrations was no pressing teams high up the pitch domestically. Remember, sitting deep, bringing them on? No. Because there's a mistake there always waiting to happen with a lot of these teams, because let's be honest, it's like us against a better quality team in Europe. We've not got as good a player as them. So they know that there's a mistake with us. So we're playing against teams with a fraction of your budget. There's plenty of mistakes with them. You press them high, you get at them, and you blow them away. I can see us wipe the floor the vast majority of teams. I'm convinced of that. this season. I've seen enough already. What I'm also, we're going to cut the transfers, I suppose, right? But Eddie's time's been and gone. We're getting nothing from him. So whoever comes in can't contribute less than he's done the last, let's say, 12 months.
Yeah.
Or certainly this season, right? I take your point about him being terrific for us prior to that. I'm absolutely with you there. But based upon where he is now, he's contributing nothing, right? So I think we're going to get stronger. I think the fitness will improve. More chance to get to work with Ange and the staff with that one. But his philosophy, his ideas, I think we're lucky if we've scratched the surface of it so far. You know, for 50% of it, 60% of it. But so when I say there's so much scope for improvement, it's based upon that. You know, but if we're at peak, then you go the only ways down. After you plateau in your words, right? We're at 50%, if even that, of his philosophy, how he wants us to play, and the players' understanding of that system. So that's why I'm quite optimistic, extremely optimistic. And also, we've got a good manager. We've got a good manager there. You know, so that's where I come from.
Yeah, no, it's a thing that there's very ground basis. My disappointment was not taking that opportunity. I think there was a door open because of this booted right foot yesterday. I'm not angry because I think he will learn from that yesterday. I think he's learned he doesn't need to give Rangers much respect. He just needs to work out what to do when they sit back. So again, if we suddenly, I'm just looking up who our current transfer rumours are to bring it, to intertwine it with the transfer window. So it's Georgios Giacomakis is the big 6'1" centre forward, who's scored the highest goals in the, was it Eredivisie? How do you pronounce it again? The Dutch league, anyway.
Just the Dutch league will do it. That'll do it.
Dutch league. So again, so we can get him in. So he'll be a focal point, and also we can supplement Kyogo through the middle. Because again, we just need to what. One of the cons of the Ange ball is burnout. Is asking too much of players. You can kind of see a wee Kyogo's looking a wee bit tired because he does take batterings during games. So it's going to have an effect. I mean, so it'd be good if we can actually get a wee rest for him now and again. We don't need to have him going full pelt all the time, every game all the time. But again, we've already got the Europa League games coming up, so the calendar's already starting to fill up between now and Christmas. So if we can get this boy up front, but we're also looking at João Jota.
That's the winger, the Portuguese winger, isn't it?
Yeah. So again, we're looking at a left winger because again, we're looking, I think, for two wingers two on the left, two on the right to supplement. I know we're still waiting on Mikey Johnson coming back, but we're not sure when that will be. So again, I think he's looking for dedicated backup, quality backup at least, or quality rotation, because I think that might be a big part.
That was his words. He was asked that question. Did you see? It might have been we signed the Croatian boy, in effect suggesting that he was, that with the right back. And he kind of said, well, he doesn't see it that way. It's about having the squad because the style of play you've got to rotate to avoid the burnout is what we say. But you can't ask the same guys to play that intensity, 2-3 games a week. He goes, because they just can't do it. So that was Ange's words. So I think you're right. The winger, don't know much about him other than YouTube clips. He's got quick feet, a bit like Portuguese McGeady, is how I'd describe him. Which can be a match win these days and can be a bit frustrating some other times, but that's just YouTube, right? It doesn't tell you a hell of a lot. But he's obviously got a bit about him.
Yeah.
Benfica, Portugal 17s, Portugal 19s. He's got ability. He's still a young guy. Hopefully he can bring something to us if we get him, because we do need that backup, that extra squad depth out wide. The striker, no-brainer. Griffiths appears to be off to Dundee. So if Griffiths
good old Gordon Strachan, eh?
Aye, God bless the wee man.
Good outie, Gordon
all the naysayers, the wee man's just in and off you go, Griff. And there's heavy links with Edouard going to Crystal Palace tonight. Patrick Vieira is obviously there, the French connection, but Vieira's apparently been a big fan of him. And if he gets the best out of him, he's one to watch, because you could sell him for 30, 40, 50 million. So I think it's time for him to move on. Hopefully he goes. But if he goes and Griffiths goes, then we need another striker. Not just one striker.
I can only apologise to everyone listening that we don't have Monty Burns on the line at the moment, because of course he would tell you, a Yeti, there's a player in there, he's sure of it, he's just needing a chance. Yeah, definitely. Or back in, this also the point, why have we not get any centre forwards coming through for the youth setup. I know, like by Charles Nicholas, that was 40 years ago. I mean, so that kind of idea.
Jack Aitchison was remember that he was 16 and scored his debut.
Well, we've won every 5 years or so. That's going to be the next big thing.
I don't know. I really don't know.
That for the 19s never happens.
Striker was always an area where we always had good players coming through, and for whatever reason, it seems to be more wide players in recent years, doesn't it? Your Forrest and Mikey Johnsons, your McGeady's. McGregor, I think, started wide as well, didn't he? Before
maybe
Rodgers
it's
moved him in.
Strachan were not genetically able. You know what I mean? We're no longer big enough and strong enough and fast enough.
Well, there's just on that. There's a boy playing with the Celtic B development team just now, a young Scottish kid with an interesting surname, who you know by the name of Vata.
Oh yes. Good heritage, good Celtic heritage.
Yeah, so Rocco Vata may be that player, because I think he's 16 and he's already playing with the B team and scoring goals. So I think he's Rudy's boy. He's obviously, his mother's Scottish. I think he plays for Ireland under 17s. His grandmother's Irish on one side.
All right.
So he's playing with them. But
Rudy on tour, was it?
Aye. Well, this guy, this young gun could be what you're asking for next.
It'd be nice to see. Again, I think we had 5 academy boys on there the other night, one of the other nights. So that would be good. Good to see some more coming through. It's always good.
We need another centre back, right? I
was going to say, but so we should also welcome Liam Scales to the club. Coming. So he's joined. So he's a centre half. I think he's a 6'4". He can
play his left.
Julian, a big tall, slim giant.
I think he's quite versatile though, right? Shamrock Rovers boy, and he had read a fair bit about him, and he's he played in Europe there just a week ago. The headed goal.
But
he appears to be versatile in that, not just centre back, left back or left wing back. Yeah. So a bit of options there with him.
What, an alternative Beaton, is that what you're saying here?
No, I'm not saying that at all. No. So and actually, well, here's with Beaton as well, right? Thankfully, we're not seeing Beaton in its centre half. I don't blame Beaton for that, right? I actually think Beaton's a decent number 6. And for some reason... Okay, maybe 5 years ago, right? But I don't get all this. Beaton doesn't pick his centre half, right? He's never been a centre back. Although in saying that, I'm sure Israel played in there against us.
I think his last 2 years for Israel had been at centre back.
But they play 3 centre backs, don't they? They play a back 3.
I was going to say that might just be the lot, and they've got actually decent midfielders. You know what I mean? So it might just be a case of. But he's still there, and I don't imagine he'll be moving. He may be moving the transfer window in January when he wants this slip out the door. But yeah, so we've got the Greek boy coming in. That'll be quite good up front.
What's the Greek boy's name again, Desi?
Let me look it up. This is Georgios Giacomakis.
All right, okay.
His medical is due maybe tomorrow. So apparently that's a done deal. And then Crystal Palace and Celtic are haggling over the £5 million, between 15 million and 20 million for Edouard. So that'll probably go into 17 based on instalments. And again, I think if you get 15...
Oh no, it's a bidding war. Celtic want a bidding war the next 24 hours.
It's not going to happen with 24 hours to go, I don't think.
Listen, don't rule out Arsenal. Right.
I was going to say, don't rule out. Do you think Peter Lawwell's phoning up and going, hello, this is Arsenal, we're interested. Don't tell the papers. No, that line.
You know, Arsenal's one of the teams you look at and you think they've got a lot of really good, skillful players, but lack a spine, lack a bit of heart. You just know that he's the type of all the players to sign. You know, he's the one they should be signing. Right?
He can really galvanise them together.
Aye.
Well, talking of such, that was a nice wee touch that Moussa Dembele gets to go back to Ibrox in the Europa League.
And Jason Denayer as well.
Even better. So that'll be quite interesting to see how that turns out. Yeah, so basically, folks, we've got 24 hours left while we're recording this on the Monday night. We've got 24 hours just over for the transfer window. So we expect Edouard to go. I hate that you mentioned it looks like Griff will be away, which will be good. I did see someone mention the other day, which kind of put the nail on the head to me. Somebody said, I sat right behind the players at Celtic Park, and during the game, I think that one of the league games the other week, Griff sat his cell and not one of our players spoke to him. No, it's all along their lines. As if he's on his phone the whole game, totally like a man alone, and that kind of thing. As in already, that relationship had broken down, or that sort of way. Because even like you see a lot of them sitting together. So I think that would be good for everyone concerned. And then he'll just kind of his 1 year contract extension will just kind of disappear into distant memory.
But here's the thing that we've spoke about a lot. I think you in particular, right? If he goes to Dundee on loan, he doesn't play against Celtic.
No.
Right? And that's the one thing we didn't do last year that we've done before. We put Ayer to Kilmarnock, Christie to Aberdeen. So you get him out the door and he doesn't play against Celtic. But he can play against them up at Dens Park. And, you know, he may be many things which he is, let's not go there, but he can put the ball in the back of your net. Right? So I don't see that as a bad thing. I'd like to see Bolly just get him out on loan or somewhere and see if he can go abroad.
Juniors.
Well, see if he can go abroad. Why not say to somebody like Hearts or Aberdeen, we'll pay half his wages, take him on loan.
Yeah.
And it means he's not playing against us, but he's playing against them. So there's things like that.
But that's also what they've done. We've talked about this many times. That's also what the Huns done against us last season. They said that was our boy Murphy to Hibs and he scored against us. No, that's what we've been doing the last couple of years. We've been doing that, and then suddenly
Middleton to St Johnstone as well.
I think like we stopped doing all that last year, and then
McCrory to Aberdeen. He went to Aberdeen.
Came back to bite his arse. You know what I mean? So again, you're right. So I think it's Scott Robertson. He's away, one of the youth players. I just seen a note saying he's away for out on loan to someone. But I think
so we'd like to see. So what I would like to see is Griffiths moving out, Edouard moving out. Bolly moving out as a minimum. Be 3. Barkas would be good as well to get him out, but be 4, right? And that's good wages as well that you're getting out and some money back in for Edouard. Christie, for me, if it doesn't say the contract, you want to try and sell him, but you can't force him. So what do? Right? And I think Ange wants him. Ange seems to wax quite lyrical about him, that he likes a lot of him, blah, blah, blah. But let's leave it at that. Coming in, if 2 strikers go, we need 2 strikers in, right? We need a left winger. Looks like Jota's going to come in. Looks like one of the strikers is coming in. We need another centre half on loan. Don't have to buy one. Julian's back. I think Julian's back training, so he may be back in a few weeks' time, maybe a month's time. We need games to get up to speed. Another centre half on loan. Otherwise, it's Beaton back to centre half. We can't be doing that. We can't be doing that.
Young boy Murray again.
Put him out on loan. Put him out on loan for a season.
He should be going to like a Hibs. No, I mean, I need disrespect to Hibs or even a St Mirren or something like that.
Aye.
But that's what we've done. That's what we've done with the young Norwegian boy who's now away to. He's away enjoying Leeds. John Hughes said he was a clear star. So why was he not promoted to the first team straight away? That kind of idea. Why did he not get his chance? It's a bit weird. I'm just looking at the latest news that's come in 2 minutes on the Twitter feed. Bournemouth and Burnley now in transfer hunt for Ryan Christie.
There we go then.
I thought he'd end up honestly at Aston Villa or Southampton.
He won't go to the English Championship. So and would you want to play for Burnley? I know money talks, right? But when he touches the ball, you're going to get Burnley.
Exactly. That's why I thought he'd went to Southampton or Aston Villa. I thought he's the sort of player that could have done a job for them. Southampton know the quality they're getting from Celtic, but also for Aston Villa. That's after 100 million for Grealish. They've spent so much, 80 million or something. But you're picking up Ryan Christie for £500,000.
Could we do a swap deal?
A week?
Could we get Stuart Armstrong back?
But that's what I'm saying. But that's proven quality, isn't it? He's been like one of their supporters player of the years for the last.
Imagine Armstrong and Ange's team, that energy. That's one of his strengths, isn't it? Is the high up press.
Did you see El Yanusi scoring at the weekend?
No, I didn't.
So his loans. He's going to get his chance at Southampton, which is good to see because again he does us a turn. He
tried his best, just didn't work out, didn't it? Tried his
best. Exactly. So again, so Ryan Christie could be the next one. But his thing, mate, is my daughter Morgan highlighted earlier on. It would be nice to see the Greek boy come in and this new winger come in. But if it means that it's just to supplement Edouard getting out and Christie getting out, you're kind of put yourself back into the same limitations. So it'd be nice if they actually still add somebody else in. Yeah. Again, maybe even like Martin Boyle for Hibs. You know, like kind of players like that. Like
he's just signed a new contract, didn't he?
Or like that, Kevin Nisbet. But that way, as in, I'm not saying that you've got to limit yourself to Hibs, but like that kind of example of just supplementing your squad a wee bit.
Here's one I'm going to throw at you then, right? That's maybe there's a player there that Ange likes already. Montgomery. I thought Montgomery was tremendous away to Alkmaar, and he played at left back, but he's kind of been coming on as a left kind of winger type. So maybe Ange's going, well, hold on a minute. I've seen enough of this boy that he actually is going to step in to be part of the squad rather than buy somebody else new in. So that might be what I'm just saying as an example, right?
Yeah.
We definitely
that's why I said Murray also is another example of that.
You could be right with that one.
But
I think he's some experience centre half. That'd be my thinking, right?
But that then brings us back to the question we've been asking for 18 months before the 10 in a row disappeared. What would Lennon do? Would he risk playing kids, or so a lot of the kids kind of drifted away the last 18 months due to they never get a sniff in the first team during the 10 in a row season. And then now Ange is under the same pressure. You must win the league this year. So what does he do? So I think he would rather have a 26-year-old. That kind of idea. Just for this season. But you still would be trust that he would develop players, like the youth players. He would still be looking to develop those. But I think
I also think
he would have to side with proven
talent. And also think Ange let the cat out of the bag a wee bit when he said in the recent interview that he obviously knows the Japanese league inside out.
Yeah.
And it's their pre-season come January. So I think we can look to him getting a couple of deals lined up for first team players, maybe a couple, to come in, hopefully the quality of Kyogo. And if that's the case, listen, it's the perfect time to get two quality players in for a league that's probably quite cheap in terms of transfer fees for players. Because for us to buy a Kyogo from a European team, right, but we couldn't have afforded them. What did we get him for? 5 million? We'd have probably had to pay double that at least, maybe closer to 15 for a player of his quality at his age. So I think Ange's got his eyes on a couple of players from the Japanese league, and they'll probably arrive in early January, which would be a good thing.
That would be. Even if they come in just to bed in for 6 months, for the 6 months, and then hit the ground running for the Champions League.
And remember, there's a pre-season, there's a winter season break this year as well, right? I think it's a 3-week break this year, right?
Maybe Ange will take us to Sydney for a wee tour, or down to Melbourne. That'd be quite good. So he could go and see Harry Brady of the Melbourne CSC. So that'd be no bad. So I think that's us realistically. So we've brought it up to date. We're waiting to see if Bournemouth or Burnley or someone else comes in for Ryan Christie, which I expect probably they will. I think Ange has already stated he just wants to know exactly who he's working with from now on. Get the squad settled, and then he can really concentrate on coaching, which he's not been able to do because, as you highlighted, there's been so many games. But of course, now we're in an international break. All the inconvenience nonsense, the Scotland games pop up, but there's a few Celtic players already had to pull out of that. So it'll be interesting to see how many are actually still in the
Interestingly enough, there's been a Croatian player, a Croatian winger, linked with us for a wee while. It's been in the background, and I'd heard it was all Ange and Christie moving out. Oh, what's the guy? Is it?
Don't start with a J.
No, I thought it starts when else at Loveridge or
Loveridge. That Jovic or something.
He's a left winger, but he's a quality player. But the talk was maybe 4 or 5 million to buy him, and it would depend on Christie moving out. So I wonder if that can get ready to go if Christie moves out, because that would tick a lot of boxes for us.
Isn't it Lavagia, is it?
No.
There's a name you'd remember. Marco Lavagia, I've got here, 28. He's 28. Left winger. Anyway, okay, we'll wait and see. Again, so everyone that's listening, of course, thanks for listening, but we'll find out tomorrow night what's happening with the transfer window. So far, Hector, in respect to transfer window, bringing the players in, so what's that? We've got a Croatian international, a Swedish international. What else?
Ex-England keeper.
We've got, ex-England, sorry, 75 caps, who's done a great job, let's be honest. I know he had that wee scare in Alkmaar, etc., but you can just see the reinforcement he's brought to the club, and he gets the club. A lot of did you see the interview with Mika Richards?
Aye.
That was a good. Again, that was a good interview with somebody loves football and he's just here to do his best. Yeah. No bullshit, none of that crap. It felt really genuine. You know what I mean? Joe Hart. And again, that young boy, the young Liam Scales, very highly rated in Ireland.
Got the young Israeli winger, international winger, Japanese international striker.
So
yeah,
again, so
McCarthy was ex-Ireland. I don't know if he's still in the Ireland squad when he's available. But
no,
McCarthy's
I
experience.
think he's, yes.
Yeah.
So again, so a lot of quality. We have brought in quality signings, but we're interested to see. And then if we bring in this Greek internationalist, and then the Portuguese. By the way, Jota is deemed on Google as a Portuguese trickster.
McGiddy.
That's a trickster. So wait and see what. But again, that's an alternative to your traditional like Kyogo winger who wins the ball and Kyogo wins the ball and sends it in, like sends the crosses in. It looks like this Portuguese guy is going to be an alternative. I.e., we need somebody who can dribble and beat a guy. Right? So it's an alternative, like the thing we've maybe looked for rather than like for like. So that'll be interesting. Right, so I think we've brought it up to date. We'll see what happens with the transfer window, and then we can review it post internationals, and then when we get back on track, and then we'll get the Europa League kicking off in September. So that'll be very interesting. So it's just left for me to say thanks everyone for listening. As always, this podcast and the rest of the shows are up on Spreaker and all the usual outlets. Please subscribe and like where possible, and please tell your friends. If there's anything you don't like, please let us know at etims.contact@gmail.com. Just a heads up, this Friday I will be doing an interview with the author, Jeremy Dade, of the new Jackie McNamara book. So that will be an extra podcast during the international break. So I'll post that over the weekends. Hopefully there'll be some valuable insights into Jackie's career and his recent illness, etc. So hopefully that'll be very interesting. So we'll see how that goes. And other than that, it's just left for me to say thank you to Hector for tonight's chat. Thank you, Hector.
Thank you, Desi. At long last, a podcast with some common sense.
Yeah, so we'll see. And again, I can only apologise for all the fans of Ralph.
Don't apologise.
Ralph. If you want to see some Ralph, just follow him on Twitter at Richie Stoke. You're bound to get some of his old curmudgeonly self there. And Monty Burns should hopefully be with us for the next podcast. All right, folks. My name is Desmond. Good night.